Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and I'm inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
I read Boundaries by Dr. Todd when I was 23, and it truly changed my life. That was a book I read and I went, I am allowed to say no. And I never felt like that before. I was such a people pleaser and I have to make everybody happy. And I didn't realize how much I let other people's needs just kind of overtake my own. And that book, I literally read it and reread it and probably read it again and said, this is going to make me a better person. I'm allowed to say no. I'm allowed to tell somebody no. I don't want to do that. Or no, that doesn't work for me.
That was Melanee Todd, fourth grade teacher and single mom. I'm so excited to have Melanee as our guest today on Courage Becomes Her. Melanee believes that she is just living life. When I look at her as being a woman of courage and just doing so many things throughout the 18 years that I have known her with just joy and courage and living into herself in a way that is inspiring to me. Today in our conversation, she's going to talk about what it looks like to thrive in the back to school, especially as a single mom, a single parent, and a single working mom as well. So join me as I interview Melanee. Thank you so much, Melanee, for joining me today. I am just so excited to have the opportunity for us to chat together.
Oh, yeah, this will be fun. I'm excited too.
Me too. I think it will be too. So back to school. So life for back to school for you is a little bit different than most moms and even most single moms since you are a teacher. So talk to me just a little bit about, or talk to us a little bit about what it looks like for you to do that well and kind of, how you make it work well.
All right. So I don't know about doing it well, but I know what works for us.
Yeah.
And I know it took us a long time to get here to figure out what does work because it is hard, but we lead a pretty routine, scheduled life. My phone, I cannot tell you how many alarms are on it to tell us what time we need to get up. And I have alarms to say we need to get out of the house. And, we leave the house between 6:40 and 6:45 every day, and we come home and kids have after school activities and whatever. I have grading, I have parent email, all of those teacher things. But I try really hard. Our school week is Monday through Thursday. So I try really hard to dedicate my Fridays to still working. So I do my grading, I do my lesson plans, I do grocery shopping, all of those kinds of things on Fridays. And then we take Saturdays off. It's really important to me that we have 24 consecutive hours that we're off in a week because all three of us need it. My kids and I, we all need time off. And sometimes that's to go do something fun. Like we're talking this weekend about maybe going to a baseball game. Sometimes it's to have a day to not get dressed, to stay in our pajamas and watch whatever on, Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, it just kind of depends. And then Saturdays are our chores.
Okay.
So Saturdays we clean house and we do laundry and, we just kind of, everybody sort of gets ready for their week. And that's kind of like what each week has to look like for us because everybody's so busy.
Yeah.
Our days are, like I said, leaving the house at 6:40 in the morning. And on good days, we're home at 6 at night.
So the kids are 12 and 14. So I imagine it, like you said, it took a while to kind of find that rhythm, find that routine, find that schedule. So kind of how, maybe walk us backwards a little bit of like, what was the process of experimenting and kind of figuring out, how that could work?
Yeah. So it's definitely like, as I think back to like when they were littler, like I can feel my blood pressure go up a little bit because I can remember how chaotic it was and how like feeling like we were always doing something and there was never a stretch of time where we could all relax or have fun or whatever it was. And I think it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of like me thinking about, what do we need? Like, what do I need so that I can function best? I mean, as a mom, first and foremost, but like, I love teaching, and that's a passion. And I strive as a teacher. I always say, like, my goal is to be the kind of teacher I would want my kids to have. So that takes work too. And I can't ignore the fact that that takes a lot of time and energy. But my kids, I always say, like, my kids win, my own children win. So their needs come first. So as a family unit, what do we need? And we needed it. It took me going, we need time. We need time to have fun. We need time to relax. So if we need time, where does that fit best? And for me, I realized it was Saturdays. And it's just because Sundays, I think we all kind of get that, like, oh, I'm going back to work.
Yeah.
We didn't feel like we could truly relax on a Sunday. So that's why chores became a Sunday thing. And with the 4-day week, we didn't always have that, but it did help once we went to that, to be like, okay, so that's what Fridays are going to be for, is like, that's what I'm going to do my grading and my lesson plans. And I'm going to try and get that grocery shopping done. And do you need new shoes? Okay, let's go buy new shoes and let's just run errands. And I use, grocery pickup, because like grocery shopping is probably my least favorite thing. I would rather do laundry than go to the grocery store.
Amen to that.
Like, and it was just kind of a little bit of trial and error, but it really was that, like, as a family, what do we need? And we needed time. We needed a stretch of time, not a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit there, but we needed a day that was just for us. And I will tell you, I am very protective of our schedule. Like, during the school year, in the summer, I get a little more flexible, but it seems like I'm rigid almost, in that sense of like, no, like, I can't commit to do that on a Sunday because I don't want to give up my Saturday,
Yeah.
Does that make
That's
sense?
so good.
Like,
Yeah, totally.
I am fiercely protective of that schedule because I want to have the flexibility to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so smart. So good. I love that.
But it took a long time, and it's what works for us. People are like, really? And I'm like, it works for us. And for as long as it works for us, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, there's a couple of specific things that you said in that just seem like, for another single mom or a single parent to think about, of like, okay, using the apps on your phone, like, brilliant. That sounds like just so smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like shopping, grocery pickup. Okay, that saves me more than an hour of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that hour of time. You know?
That's so good. I love that. And then even your comment about trial and error, like that in and of itself is so good too. Like, I think for some reason it seems like we don't give ourselves permission to experiment and to try things. So yeah, I love that you do that.
And I asked my kids, even when they were like 5, 6, 7, like, guys, like, what can we do to make this work better? Of course, one of their comments was, yell at me more. That's not what I meant. But, and I mean, eventually they were able to say, like, we just need to be able to relax and have fun. And bits and pieces of time to relax and have fun didn't work for us.
Yeah, that's so important. And all parents should know their kids, well enough to figure that out. But just, again, you taking the time and putting the energy to figure that out and identify that, is so smart.
Yeah, we had to. I mean, as a single parent, it's hard, and it's harder than I ever thought it would be. And I was just telling somebody the other day, like, there are challenges as a single parent that I just didn't even fathom would be challenges. Things like, how do I deal with my kid having, an issue at school with friends? Like, I don't have anybody to go to, or my kid sent a text message that they shouldn't have sent. Like, now I'm the only one that I know, like, I don't have somebody to bounce off. How should we deal with this situation? Or like, I had surgery. Who's going to help take care of me? Because they're 6 and 7, like, it's just, sometimes it's things you just don't even realize. us are there. And so you got to go to the kids sometimes. Help us work this out. Help me figure out how to make this better.
And that's so smart too, because I mean, kids are smart,
Yes.
they know things intuitively. And so just asking them, inviting them into the conversation seems brilliant.
And I think that's one thing that I have learned is that the three of us are a team. Like, and maybe I'm the head coach of that team, but we're a team. And if it works for me, doesn't mean it's going to work for them. And if they're involved and I get buy-in from them, then I'm far more likely to be successful than if I'm just trying to say, we have to do this. And if I explain, look, like, yeah, like we're going to do chores on Sunday and we're going to do this on Friday, like Fridays, you're going to get your homework done and this kind of stuff, because then on Saturday we get this. They're far more likely to be cooperative with that if they see what the point is and what the purpose is for it.
Yeah. Oh, adding them into the big picture makes so much sense for sure. So one of the comments that you said to me was that this is just your life, that, you don't feel like there's any, this is my life, and I look at it as I said to you, that it's courageous and that you're living in a way that is just completely courageous. So knowing that you view it as just your life, I'd love to know, like, what do you define as courage, or how do you view courage if you don't necessarily, look at the way that you live as a single mom as being courageous?
Yeah. And, like I said, I think probably because you're just in the middle of it, so it doesn't feel courageous. It's just like, I mean, I remember when the kids were teeny tiny and I was a single mom, sometimes I was living not just day to day, it was like hour to hour kind of thing. And so it just becomes life. But so I guess, I define courage as being willing to step outside that comfort zone and do those things that are hard. And I guess this is my comfort zone now. And maybe that's why it doesn't feel courageous. But at the time, I guess when I first became a single parent, that was probably the hardest place I've ever been in my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Being the single mom of, babies, you
became
a single mom when they were itty bitty.
4 months old.
Yeah.
My son was 4 months old. My daughter wasn't quite 2. So they were little. Like that was scary, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know how I was going to figure it out. I didn't know. I was very fortunate that I had very supportive parents and family and friends to help me through that. But there was several months, year or so there that I didn't know. I didn't know how I was going to put food on the table because that wasn't what I had planned. I was going to stay home and take care of my babies, but I don't get paid to do that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, courage is just stepping outside that comfort zone.
Yeah. And you've totally done that. An author that I like, Elizabeth Elliot, she has this quote where she said, you just do the next thing. And I think when, in the years that I've known you and watching you, through your journey, like that's what I would say about you is that you have just always just done the next thing. And like you said, even if it's hour by hour at moments, that it's like, okay, I'm taking the next step forward. I'm just doing the next thing that I know what to do. And to me, I think that is being courageous and, stepping out of your comfort zone and like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just going to take what seems like the most obvious next step.
Yeah. Well, and that's been very much, it's a little bit less so now because I've been here for 11 plus years, but definitely back at the beginning. It was scary to not know, not just what the next year was going to hold where we would be, but where we would be, in the next month. Like that was a scary time. It really was. And like I said, I'm really fortunate that my parents were around and were able to help me through just some pretty tough, scary times. But it was very much just do the next thing. The next thing I need to do is change that diaper.
That's right.
The next thing I need to do is make lunch. The next thing I need to do is get these kids in the bath. And I went into teaching. I'd been in education, as you know, like well before, but when I kind of had to give up the dream of staying home with my kids, it was like, what? I loved being in education. I loved working with kids and teaching kids. So that next step then that will allow me to be with my kids the most is, let's go back to school, crazy, and get the master's, get the teaching, certificate, and let's teach, because that will allow me to have as close to that dream that I had before life kind of blew up in my face. Like, that will allow me to have as close to that as I can. And, now again, we're several years down the road, like kind of kick myself. Like, I should have done that well before when I had kids, because I love my job. I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So that next step.
Well, and I love how you said too, that now your school and the kids' school is a block-ish away from one another. Yes. So they Fantastic. Can walk over when they're done and hang out with you. And I love that.
Yeah, I love it. And that's been our setup for the last 4 years. Before that, it was dropping them off on one side of town and I'm driving over to the other side of town to go to work. And I went to my principal, and I loved my job and I loved my principal. And I said, you know what? This is just too much for me. We were in different school districts, and they would have a snow day and we might have a 2-hour delay. And
wow.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I said, I love this, but I need to take that next step, and I need to be on something that's closer to their schedule.
Yeah.
So we really are. If they have a snow day, I have a snow day. And now they're across the street, and it just doesn't get any easier than that as far as drop-offs and pickups.
I love it. Yeah. Any other tips, I guess, that you would share with other single moms or single parents about just how to get the school year off right and, moving in a good direction?
My only tip is extend everybody a lot of grace. We all need a lot of grace. It is hard. It's hard for parents sending their kids back. It's hard for the kids. It's hard for the teachers. It's hard for everybody to go back. We all have to get in routines. And if your kids are at a different school than they used to be at, or whatever, it's a whole new routine. Mm-hmm. And that's hard, and extend some grace. And, if it's cereal for dinner, it's cereal for dinner. We're all going to be okay. If you need to make mac and cheese, it's okay. Go get the pizza, go get the McDonald's, whatever it is, extend yourself some grace and extend your kids some grace, because it's hard, and it's hard on everybody. I mean, I know my kids come home at the end of the day exhausted. Yeah. Those first few weeks, I come home exhausted. We're all it's hard. And that's okay. Let it be hard, and just say it's hard, and figure out where you can make it easiest for yourself.
Yeah.
For me, that means we're going to have mac and cheese, or we're going to have whatever's easiest. I'm not planning anything big. And on those first few weeks, our Saturdays are pajamas. We're just relaxing. We're not going any, you know what I mean?
Amen. Yeah.
We need to recharge. We need to sleep in. We need to let ourselves kind of get back into
decompress.
Yeah. Yes. Because it's, kids start a new school year and they have new teachers, new expectations, mm-hmm. new friends or no friends in their classroom. It's a lot. It's a lot. And you got to cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
Extend yourself and kids some grace, and it'll be okay.
So good.
6 weeks from now, if you want to, fix a 3-course meal for dinner, go for it. But
be moving like clockwork then. Yep.
Exactly. Great. But it takes time to get there. It just does.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Those are some, fantastic tips. And from single mom perspective, as well as teacher perspective, I just, love all of this. Thank you.
Yeah. For sure.
So I have a couple of questions that I'd like to just ask everyone. So first and foremost, obviously you've got teenagers, or a teenager and an almost teenager in the house. So mm-hmm. your movies might be all focused on them, but what's the best movie that you've seen, or your favorite movie you've seen in the last year or so?
Okay. So Yeah, I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I teach fourth grade. So like, and I was trying to think like last movie. Okay. So last year for our end of year field trip, we took our fourth graders, we rented a movie theater.
Oh, fun.
And I went and watched Bad Guys, which is,
okay.
like, cartoon, because we read the book in class and, so it was very cute. So that was fun. But that is honestly the last movie I've seen in a theater, probably since before COVID, because kids and whatever.
Yeah.
But my kids and I, we love Stranger Things. And so it's not a movie, but dang, like that's
totally what you guys are into together.
Yeah. So when that came out early July, like we have a rule, we're only allowed to watch 2 episodes a day because otherwise we will literally watch all of them. And my daughter's a little like, my son doesn't get too afraid. She's a little more like gets freaked out or scared. So we can't watch them at night either. Like we got to watch them before bedtime so that she doesn't have bad dreams. So
smart.
But Stranger Things is our like, that was so, yeah. Otherwise, I think, we haven't watched too many movies. So last weekend we were going to watch the new Jurassic Park and we just never got there.
Didn't get there. Okay. Yeah. How about, I know this might call out your age a little bit, but what was the first concert you ever went to?
Okay. So the first concert that I went to probably ever was Willie Nelson when I was like 6 with my parents at the state fair.
Super fun. Okay.
So that was pretty fun. First concert I ever said I want to go to was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And it was like my cousins that are a little bit older than I am gave it to me for like a 15th birthday present. They took me to that concert. And it was at Fiddler's on the Green, and it was just a fun night. So
I can totally see you going to that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like that was like, that was the first one I ever chose to go to. Yeah. But Willie Nelson is the first one I actually remember going to see when I was pretty little, like 6 or something. It was after the rodeo at the state fair. So.
Oh my gosh. So fun. That's
Willie
great.
Nelson and Kenny Rogers was right there too. So.
Wow. All right. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. What about your current obsession? What's a current obsession of yours right now? Kind of any genre.
Of any genre. Oh my gosh. That's so hard. I would say I get on this kick, about in 2019, some friends and I started a book club, which then only a couple of us ever read the books. So then we decided to make it a book swap instead. And so we'll have our book swap. And in 2019, I set a goal that I was going to read 30 books that year. And I've made it. But this year, I'm currently reading book 29 of the year. So I'm like, man, I might make it to 40. So I'm a little bit obsessed with reading. My kids gave me a hard time because last weekend, it ended up a 4-day weekend for us because we have Fridays off. And I literally read, I think, 3 books on those.
Way to go.
And they weren't, they were books that I put in the candy kind of category, nothing that's going to make me think too hard. But yeah, so it's getting through my 40 books this year.
I love that. Yeah.
I've switched my goal because I'm ahead.
Good for you.
That's awesome. There have been times on December 31st where I'm I got 100 pages to go to get to book 30. I am finishing this tonight.
That's awesome.
So now I'm ahead. So I moved my goal out to 40. So
good. Well, I'm obsessed with books as well. So along those lines, tell us about the most transformational book or most impactful book that you've ever read.
Okay. So that question is actually pretty easy. So I would say it's Boundaries by Dr. Todd. Right.
Yeah.
I read that when I was, I want to say 22, 23. And it truly changed my life. That was a book I read and I went, I am allowed to say no. And I never felt like that before. I was such a people pleaser and I have to make everybody happy. And I didn't realize that how much I let other people's needs just kind of overtake my own. and be more important than my own. And that book, I literally read it and reread it and probably read it again and said, I need, like, this is going to make me a better person. I will be, I'm allowed to say no. I'm allowed to tell somebody, no, I don't want to do that. Or no, that doesn't work for me. Like, it was amazing. And it just makes me, like, it kind of makes me hurt for my younger self that I didn't feel that way before I read that book.
Or know that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that I did read it. So
good.
You and I've talked. I wish there was a teenage version for that.
Oh my gosh.
I would I just wish there was. Like my kids are at that age where we talk about that. And it's so hard to be 12, 14, 15, 16 and to realize that you can tell people no and it's okay.
Yes.
They're still going to be your friend if they're worth having as a friend. And they will still respect you. And changed my life.
I love that. Yeah. So good. Yeah. That's definitely one of, I would say, top 10 books in my life too. It's a phenomenal one for sure. So yay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I just love, again, you living your life just as your life, but it is so courageous. And I'm so grateful for you to share it with us, and especially to encourage the single moms and single parents out there.
Single parenting's hard. And it's lonely. It's hard and it's lonely. And, but it's good too.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you. Appreciate you joining me today.
Absolutely.
Oh, what a gift and a blessing to have Melanee with us today. I just love and appreciate her insights about helping to make back to school a good experience for everyone. So I hope that you had some good takeaways from the time that we had with her. I love a couple of things that she shared about making sure that you take time to get to know yourself and your kids well enough that you know what works for you and you can identify what are the best rhythms and routines and practices for you and your family. I love that. I love how she also talked about being a team with your kids, and of course how she said you're the coach, but having the kids know that you are a team together with them, that it's not a you against them or them against you, but you're all in it together. So insightful. And then I love how she's using technology to help her and to help the kids. And so using tools like apps and calendar and alarms to make sure that they're on time and that she's being reminded of things and that she's not having to keep things in her head, but is able to just use those tools to their benefit and their advantage. And then I love her last takeaway for us of extending grace. Wow. Such an important piece, especially at the beginning of the school year or even just anything new that you're starting out in, of just that extending grace to yourself, to your kids. I love how she said extending grace to the teachers. Like, what a huge transition time and just a beautiful opportunity for us to extend that grace and to just be mindful that we each have different paces in life and we're all just kind of absorbing and taking in information in such different ways. So I love that so much. And thank you, Melanee, for being with us and having such great insights for us. If you'd like to connect with Melanee, her info is in the show notes, and she would more than welcome a conversation, especially with any of you who are single moms and just navigating this back to school rhythm. So thank you so much for joining in this great conversation today, and go and extend yourself and those around you some grace as you get this school year underway. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.